work hard, so I typically make anywhere from 150 to 250 calls a day. I follow up with my planner, so I'm following up with my customer base every day. I have about 5 lead generators that I work with throughout the country, so I talk to them typically on a daily or every other day basis to keep in contact with them to see what we can do better, what's not working. It's really just following up with customers and just it's massive action. You can't do 25 to 50 calls a day. You can't just wait for the people to come in for you. It's taking relentless persistence and trying to find enough people that you can talk to on a daily basis. It's a numbers game.
Yes, ma'am. Oh, go ahead.
So you do I hold it? Or? Okay. So you do into it. Okay. So you do 150 calls a day. What's your ratio to, like, for the next day? Like, how much of a lapse in time do you call the same person, basically? Do you wait a day, or do you do every 2 days?
Well, when it's a fresh lead, we're calling that lead 2, maybe even 3 times a day if we can. But once you've been working them for about 2 weeks, you're going to start spreading it out a little bit. You don't want to wear them out too much. But if they've given us the fact that they have interest in our product, then we need to start hitting them 1, 2, 3 times a day those first few days, if we can.
Yeah, and another thing I want to point out while you're talking about that is obviously definitely don't want to just do calling. Calls, text messages, emails, kind of mix it up throughout the day. Don't just stick to one. The main 2 are going to be definitely calling and text messages. Those are going to be your 2 top priorities as far as to get a hold of a customer. If y'all are like me, I get a ton of emails every day. I pretty much delete most of them. I don't hardly ever look at them. It's just an old way of contact. Nowadays, it's always phones and text messages are the 2 top ways that I get a hold of people.
I use social media. I do a lot of Facebook and Let Go. Most of my leads come from Facebook, and I post nice vehicles, and I just put a down payment. And I get a lot of leads, and I follow up with the leads. Once I start talking to them on Facebook, what I do is that I try to get their phone number. I call them. Once I call them, I get their name and I get their email address. So I follow up with them by calling them, by texting them, by also emailing them.
That's good information. Of all the lead generating companies that you're using, what are the 5 lead generating companies you're using, and which ones produce the most quality leads?
I don't necessarily work with a specific company. There's several Bird Dogs business referrals that I use, one of which is Andrew Frederick. He's based out of Ohio. He works for a few stores. He does Facebook generating. I've got another Joseph Samuel. Him and James Thrussell, he's based out of Florida. They do Craigslist. Craigslist has kind of fallen off. It's not as strong as it once was. Facebook is where all marketing should be at, because you can typically hone in on a specific demographic and what you're looking for. So it's not just because I have several business leads or business referrals doesn't mean that they're all like a big company, though.
So are they pay-per-lead type lead generators? Or, I mean, I understand Facebook, and I think it's probably a great avenue, but how do you get their phone number off of Facebook? Besides asking for it, obviously. Yeah. But 150 to 250 calls a day, that's great work. How do you get that many leads to contact on a daily basis?
So at Byrider, we pay referrals to our different business leads. So if, and depending on what part of the country you're in, it's based off of app, it's based off of sale. So if you build that relationship with that referral, they're going to be sending you quite a few leads, especially on Facebook. When you're paying as a business referral, they can go on and boost their page. And at that point, once you start paying for those leads, you're getting more leads put in, and once we're selling the vehicle, they're getting paid as well.
Let me interject something really quick on this topic. Your mileage is going to vary on the effectiveness of this based on the states you're looking at. Some states have laws that pretty much prohibit it, and some don't. So your mileage may vary. Always check with your local rules. Then we got a question in the back.
So I have kind of multiple questions that kind of can be for everyone on the panel. One question I have of it is, what's your radius? So you do advertisement on like Facebook or something. How far from your dealership do you usually go? The second question is, what's your general monthly budget to get these 30 to 45 cars a month? What is your general budget you guys work with?
As far as distance goes, we probably do about 90 miles outside of our radius in every direction. That's probably, every once in a while we'll go a little bit further. If the customer's just really solid, they've been at their job for a long, time, they've been at their residence for a long time, they're buying their house or something. So we'll definitely take that into consideration. We don't ever want to tell anyone no right off the bat. We try to find out a little bit, kind of dig in a little bit and find out exactly what all they have. If they're pretty stable, we might take that chance. Obviously the, down payment and all that stuff comes into play as well. And what was the second part of your question? I'm sorry? The budget. From our standpoint, we budget somewhere right around about $3,000 a month as far as advertising. Now, I will say this: as far as advertising goes, I stick to the basics. It's always worked, and it's the most cost effective. A lot of your third-party lead generators, they really don't do much good for the buy here, pay here business, just because it's going to be so far away. It's way out of your distance. It's just a waste of money. You stick to your basic stuff. Facebook's a great one. One thing that we do that's, it's kind of funny is we do a big, it's like a billboard type thing that you can change up the messages on all the time. It's very cost effective, doesn't cost you much money. You can change it up, whatever specials you got going on. Just simple things like that. TV and radio, I feel like have kind of died off a little bit as well. It's just a kind of a older market. You're going to start reaching a newer generation, and you got to get it in front of them a different way, more along the lines of what they're used to, which is going to be all digital.
In your buy here, pay here board or your advertising, what are you focusing on? Down payment, monthly payment, car?
You don't want to focus too much on the down payment or the car, just because then you start kind of narrowing it down to, you put $500 down on the board, and then they're going to all come in, and they're all going to miraculously have only $500. So you kind of keep it simple. Don't want to put too much wording up there, because then it's just too much for somebody driving by. They can't read a whole notebook. Just the basics: buy here, pay here, we finance, trades welcome, good credit, no credit, bad credit, stuff like that. You keep it simple. It's real easy to read as you're driving by. Every once in a while we'll do a sale, starting at X amount of dollars down or something like that. But you want to definitely keep it basic, and you always want to make sure and advertise the buy here, pay here, we finance, no credit checks, and stuff like that. Those are the things that kind of deter people whenever they're looking to buy a car, especially in the buy here, pay here side. They get a little nervous on the credit checks. We get people in all the time like, oh, well, my credit's really bad. So if you kind of put that right up front, then they kind of will be a little bit more willing to come and talk to you.
Bill.
Our dealer, we don't have a budget. Each sales individual is supposed to bring in their own leads. So we use social media, we use Facebook. Me in particular, I use Facebook a lot. I post a lot of cars, and like he said, I put less wording. I just put only the down payment. I also use Let Go, where most of my leads come from sold customers, from previous customers, from low balance customers, from former customers, from referrals, from references. These are all leads that you can call. These are all leads that you can work on. These are all leads that you can text daily.
Budget-wise, I've never asked, so I don't know. I don't want to give you a wrong answer.
I'll answer for you. You have a budget. You just don't have to worry about it.
So I've heard you all kind of say that you guys use the down payment as a option to use for your sales. Isn't that a triggering term? So it would be possibly deceptive practices if you don't have the other factors involved with it?
You know, honestly, I don't know the legalities on that standpoint. I know every state's kind of different. There's certain things that you have to kind of do to keep, and that's just like I said. I don't know if every state's a little bit. Oh, go ahead, David.
No. I will answer this one. Yes and no, because it depends on the body of the ad. You're using a trigger term like down payment. You are supposed to disclose all of the other trigger terms in the deal. The deal can be representative. It does not have to be specific to a unit, but it should be representative as to what is available. It should be disclosed somewhere in your ad in a conspicuous manner. Which answer are you looking for from me? The one that everybody in the room does, or the one that they should do? Yeah, no, legally you're correct. It is a non-compliant advertising piece if it does not include a disclosure for the trigger terms. That is correct. And these can be worked into a professional looking ad. It can be done without taking away from the value of the ad. I mean, shoot, they're all over the internet. Just steal it. They're there. Who's next? Let's go right here. I saw your hand first.
My question would be is how much of your business are you doing lease here, and how much is buy here, percentage-wise? Or are you doing any lease here?
None of these guys lease.
No, yeah, we're 100% buy here, pay here. That's what we focus on. That's what our inventory is structured around. You know, if we get
What does your inventory mix look like? I mean,
as far as like what kind of inventory do we carry, or the cost wise. You know, our cost, obviously, the markets on stuff has really shot up quite a bit. As far as vehicle cost on a truck, you know, it used to be somewhere around $5-6 grand. We're carrying roughly $8,000 to $12,000 cost on big SUVs, Tahoes, Suburbans, all your bigger third row stuff, truck-wise as well. Car costs, we're somewhere in the $5,000 to $6,000 range, you know, as far as total cost before, you know, you put your pack and your recon and all that stuff.
Yeah, Abilene, they carry a pretty truck-heavy mix. You're in Abilene, Texas. You got to have trucks. You just do.
Yeah, trucks and big SUVs. That's what they want. They don't want that gas-efficient stuff around there. You
just got to carry it. They won't buy it. They've tried it. I've seen them try it. So just adding a little flavor to that. You've been waiting patiently, ma'am.
Okay. So I think Adrian said that you don't run credit checks?
No, we do. We did something we just barely started probably a couple months ago, and the reason we do that is we started using a new system to kind of help qualify our customers as far as to how much money we want to put on the street with them. You know, how much do they need down? What kind of term do we need to keep them at? And so we started running that credit check. Now, when we do that, we tell our customers, because they do get a little bit, you know, they're like, oh, well, you're going to run a credit check. We try to kind of explain to them a little bit that it's not so much to see what their credit's like, but to verify their job. You know, their job, their residence, stuff like that is on that credit app. So we use that as kind of a tool to help move it faster through the approval process for the underwriting side. Not necessarily. Outside of tax season, you know, $1,000 to $1,500 is $1,000 is probably about average. You know, and I've gone to a lot of different training classes and such forth, and they've always preached, you know, a big down payment doesn't make a good customer, and a low down payment doesn't make a great customer. So, you know, that being said, our average is somewhere around $1,000 outside of tax season.
Dean, why don't you weigh in on this?
Our minimum down payment is $400. We have 3 price range that we pull our customers in, and sometimes, depending on the stability of the customer and depending on their ability, whether they can afford the terms, they can afford the payment. But we start with $399. That's the minimum down payment that we require.
So our down payments start at $200 and kind of go up from there. We do a credit check as well. But one way we get around the credit check, as into not scaring the customer, is we tell them that it's to help them establish or reestablish credit. right? We want to help them with a program to get them into a better situation.
So when you take a lower down payment, like $500 or less, what is the repossession rate on something like that? I've noticed that people, if they have to save a lot, all they got is $500 now for the car. I'm repossessing your car, like they're usually missing the first couple payments. You know, if somebody makes the first couple payments, you already know what you're going to deal with in the future. So somebody who only has $500 down, do they have enough money for insurance to make that car payment every month, or do you guys struggle with that? 'Cause I don't think these down payments are $1,000.
So that being said, we typically do try to get at least $1,000 down. That'll help kind of cover the TT&L. We do take $500 down payments, and here this past couple months we've been taking, and even my owner's been like, hey, we get these down payments up a little bit, but we don't really typically see a bigger repo rate with the lower down payment. It's really a toss-up. You try to do as much as you can to pre-qualify the customer to see how stable they are. And we, like I said, we've picked up a system which is AutoZoom to kind of help with that, but there's really not anything that we've seen that's either worse or better.
Can probably cut through this so we can get to another question. The guy with the lowest repo rate is Lane by a lot, and they have the lowest down payment. Statistically speaking, down payment doesn't drive loan performance. It drives how much you finance, and therefore the severity of the loss when you do take a loss doesn't drive performance.
So when you take a $200 down payment, what is that monthly?
Depends on the vehicle, right? So not every customer is going to qualify for the Camaro with $200 down, right? So, I mean, our average biweekly payment is $180 to $200 biweekly. I've seen them at $125. I've seen them at $250. It depends on the vehicle.
Okay, this question is for Lane. So what is the ratio of internet leads to non-internet leads? Because your internet leads are being fed by the franchise, correct?
All right. Say that one more time.
The internet leads that you receive are received or created and managed by the franchise.
Not solely.
Okay, so what's the ratio between internet and the non-internet leads if you're making 200 calls a day?
I would say a majority. I'd probably say 75 to 85% of my leads is internet leads.
That are offered to you through the franchise?
That's going to be through the franchise. That's going to be through my business referrals, my own personal leads. It's going to be all over the place. The internet is the majority of the leads.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So my question is for the guy, you said like you do like $300 to $400 down on the car. I'm assuming that that's including taxes and all, right? The tax part. So based on that, if you don't care, how is your base scale structured? Are you on commission percentage-wise and flat? And how does the owner sustain doing a $400 down on a car, including taxes, and still get the pay? So how does that formula work?
That's a good question. I'm on a salary, and I'm also on a commission base. I'm on a tier commission base. So the 400 covers the taxes and all the other fees. The only way that I get paid on commission is when the customer makes their first payment. And most of our payments are either weekly or bi-weekly.
And what scale is that? What's the percentage?
The first 10, I make 125 on the first 10 sales that I make. So once the customer make their first payment, that's when I get paid.
Specifically for each of you, what are your repossession rates as far as a percentage?
There's a good chance they don't know.
Don't know.
No, I mean, there's a good chance they don't know. They're salespeople.
A range works.
I'm trying to think of what my repossession rate. Yeah, you know what it is. You could probably know it better than I do. You
Bill's got Adrian's never been a repo he didn't like.
So when you generate leads from former customers, what does that look like logistically? What's the process? What do you say to them?
Yes, I do. I do a lot. I get a lot of leads from, former customers. I mean, customers who have already paid off their loan. They refer their family members, their friends, their neighbors, their co-workers all the time. We have a referral program where we give out $200 when they refer customers to us.
We do the same thing. So throughout the sales process, once they're finishing up, we're asking them for referrals. That's the best time to get them because that's when they're happy. So.
Okay. In the back?
Not to wear this out, but are you telling me that your ACV on some of the vehicles you buy, like a truck, so forth, is as much as $10,000, and you're taking just $1,000 down to put that person in it? That's a lot of money in the street. That's just unreal to me. But that's what you're doing?
Yes. Yeah. And really, people in the market's changed. Like I said, I've been in the buy here, pay here business for about 10 years. Whenever we first started, the down payments were $1,000 down, and my ACV on a car was probably somewhere around $3,000. The expectations for the buy here, pay here customer have gone way up, and the down payments have stayed the same. Unfortunately, where we're at, the market is everybody else around me, and there's a dealer there that's putting, probably another about $15,000 on the street with that same kind of down payment. The difference is you had to kind of get with the times. The down payments have stayed the same. The expectation has gone up. The market has just changed completely from the buy here, pay here business within the past 10 years.
Ready?
Go ahead, ma'am.
Other than lowering your down payment rate, what were your strategies to reduce your repo rate?
To reduce the repo rate, like I said, and that's what we're doing right now because we've looked at it. We used to not do any kind of underwriting. We would just if they could fog a mirror, we'd throw them in a car pretty much. And that obviously doesn't work. So we've tried kind of qualifying them a little bit more, really calling their job. We ran across where before we never called their job, we never called their residence. A lot of them they're about to be, kicked out of their apartment, stuff like that. And so we've really tried to, really qualify them a little bit more, really call and verify that stuff, and really kind of keep them honest. That running their credit really helps out as much as well. And then, like I said, we just got set up with a new program to try to help pull the, whenever you meet someone, you just like, oh, they seem like they're pretty good people. We try to take the personal part out of it and leave it up to a system that will actually help us with that.
Okay, but yours is at 40%. Yours is at 18%. So I'd like to hear what you have to say, Supreme.
Mine is 35,
right.
not 18.
Oh,
What we've done is we have ACH, whereby we have an automatic draft where we take the money out of the customer's account every week. Mm-hmm. So that has really helped us to reduce our repos.
So an auto pay is what you're saying?
Yes,
mm-hmm.
ma'am.
I was...
BuyRider, we have some of the greatest collectors in the country and in the entire industry. So we do the auto pay, we do the verifications, we're doing the credit checks. So we're crossing the T's and dotting the I's, right? So, but I mean, it's our collectors. I mean, they're really good.
Really, that was my question as far as being able to receive lower down payments. What would you attribute that lower default rate to? And I was wondering, was it collections, region of the country, underwriting? What was it? And that kind of answers that question.
Does GPS come into play at any of your 3 stores? On every vehicle or just particular customers?
As far as do we use them? Yeah. We put a GPS on every vehicle we use or every vehicle we finance. Ours also has the automatic shut off the starter interrupt, so that way if they're in default after they, with my collections, people have tried to get in contact with them, after a few days they're not returning phone calls, you shut it down. You'll be surprised how many people pick up the phone pretty quick and get a hold of you.
Are all 3 of you using the shutdown?
Yes, sir.
We do not use the shutdown.
But you do use GPS every customer, doesn't matter if they live next door or they live 30 miles away.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, the only compliant way to use GPS is all or nothing, unless you have objective criteria, which you don't until they've already been your customer. You got to have a GPS, or you don't. That's a different discussion, but you can't go halfway. Can't pick and choose who to use or which customer gets it. We've been waiting really patiently. Dave's been waiting a long time.
When you're attempting to get a customer from an internet lead or a phone up into an actual show up on the lot, what kind of information do you get? What kind of information should you get? And what do you do to entice a customer to go from a lead to an actual up on the lot?
Well, obviously, the more information you get, the better. But as long as you're getting their name and their phone number, at that point you can contact them.
What information do you want?
Everything.
Okay. Time on the job, the pay,
Everything.
down, everything. Same?
I don't ask them too much. I just tell them that, hey, come on in. We can work with you.
Just set the appointment.
I ask for their name and their phone number, and I call them, set up an appointment, and follow up with them.
Yeah, and every phone call is different, obviously. But for the most part, you don't want to ask them too much over the phone. You don't want to sit there and go through the whole credit app over the phone. I kind of tell them, hey, get their basic information. Are you from? Hey, where are you from? In the area. You definitely want to try to sell your business a little bit. Kind of, tell them a little bit about how you're different. We do a few things that we do, like $15 oil changes, free warranty, a few things that kind of entice them to come in. The main thing is to try to set an appointment and get them in, lock them down. You don't want to answer too many of those questions over the phone, obviously, because then they have no reason to come in. They've already gotten everything they need from you. They'll call the next person. So, you can ask them a little bit. You want to make it a little bit personable. You don't want to rush them off the phone and be on the phone for 30 seconds, and then they forget who you are. So you definitely want to try to do a little bit, but not too much.
As premier salespeople, you get objections all the time. What's the most common objection you get, and how do you overcome it?
Well, I think that a lot of times we think that people have objections when probably a good 75% of the time it's a complaint, right? So if I'm showing numbers on a vehicle and they say, well, that payment's too high, yeah, the payment's too high, sign right here, right? So most of the time that works. It's a complaint. Nobody wants to pay X amount of dollars. But there are objections, and you've got to address the issue. You can't just kind of fly by it all the time. You have to acknowledge that it exists, but most of the time it's a complaint.
I mean, the way I handle objection, I acknowledge it, and I tell the customer that, hey, we are here to help you. We'll help you work through the objection. And I tell them to go ahead and do the process. Typically, depending on whether it's a phone objection or it's an in-store objection, I acknowledge the objection, and I assure the customer that we will seek their interest and we'll work with them.
Okay. We got Jeff here in the middle. Go ahead, sir.
What's your typical average? What did you guys monthly payments typically go over? That's often a factor come across like price on so when you're low down payment, I hear high monthly.
Right. Our average payment's somewhere right around the low 400s, low 4s, high 3s. Term-wise, we try to keep it somewhere around. We love to keep it around 3 years. Obviously, once you start getting to a little bit more expensive car, 15.9, 16.9, 18.9, we'll stretch at 42. The max I go is 48 months, and like I said, and that's going to be on a newer vehicle, lower mileage, something that I know is going to last. I know it obviously wouldn't put a 48-month term on a 200,000-mile truck. It doesn't make no sense. But so to answer your question, low 400s on trucks, and we're trying to work on that to try to get the payment up a little bit because everybody else everywhere that does buy here pay here in our area, they're getting $500 a month payments on pickup trucks.
Your payment on your trucks is not $400.
It's low 4s, low mid 4s, yeah.
Come on, weak stick, pick up the payments.
I was wondering, what are your top sources of internet leads?
Facebook. We still get some from Craigslist, OfferUp. I think the strongest are from Facebook.
Facebook. And Facebook, when you post on Facebook, post in the group section where you can at least post in 10 groups and you get a lot of leads from the groups. Once in a while, I use the marketplace, but the marketplace really requires you to put a price. And we are buy here, pay here. We don't focus too much on price. We focus on down payment. So the groups really works for me because I can post only the down payments in the groups.
Watson.
So you guys are in the line of top performers. My question for you is, and whoever can jump in on this that has the desire, for me it's keeping myself motivated and keeping them like driven hustlers. Like, I mean, that many calls is just insane. If I can get that, I'd love it. Do you have any practical tips for us that we can take home to our salesmen that would make them more like you? You know, I mean, is it like crazy amounts of caffeine or meth? Like, what is it?
Definitely the meth, right? So,
and whatever it is, we're
just
buying.
kidding.
So
Yeah. No.
Is it a good pay plan? Is it like you have like 30 kids to feed? What are you doing?
I have a really expensive stay-at-home wife, so that helps a lot. Before I got into this, I had my own business with insurance, and so I was making 400 to 500 calls a day because it was all over the phone. So the phone's always been my thing. So if there's downtime, I should probably be calling. That's how I make my money. I don't make money by going on a smoke break or whatever the case may be. It's about building income.
you guys remember Dave Anderson's talk yesterday? You know that employee he was talking about, the self-motivating, self-starter, the ones you want? That's what it looks like. Nobody has to tell him he has to do his job in the morning. So it comes down to hiring.
You definitely
Who's
want
next?
to. Go ahead. Yeah, no. What I was gonna kind of chime in a little bit. You definitely. I don't know how you pay your sales guys, but you obviously definitely want to put them on mainly commission based. You know, you start putting them on a salary base, they get lazy. I mean, it's just the nature of the beast. I don't care who you are. If you know you're making X amount of dollars every month, you're only going to do, so much work. If you pretty much base it all on some kind of commission, whether it's a flat fee per car or a percentage of the down payment, you have to put them on commission based. That's really the only way you're going to get somebody to. They're either going to starve because they're not selling anything and they're out, or they're going to hustle because they know, hey, in order for me to make a paycheck, I need to sell something. If I don't sell anything, I just wasted my whole day doing nothing. So,
Joe Powell.
No. We have our planner that all of our leads are in, where you can go in and you can click and call it, but it won't automatically leave a voicemail. And typically, I'm not leaving a voicemail every time I call either. That would eat up a whole lot a day. And if in this generation of millennials, we don't listen to voicemails. If I get a voicemail, I flip it to the side, unless it's Jim Wright calling me, who's my president of sales. But outside of that, I'm not listening to voicemail. So unless it's a fresh lead, I'm not leaving a voicemail.
We use Dealer Socket. I mean, one great advantage that Dealer Socket has is it has a list of opportunities where you can work the opportunities. You can create your daily tasks. Like what I do when I come in every day, I have a list of customers that I have to call these customers. After I call them, I don't hear from them, I text them. If I don't hear from them, I email them. And I do that at least 3 times in a day. So we use Dealer Socket as a CRM system.
I mean, ours is, like I was saying, it's our planner. It's nothing specific besides, we call it Discover. So we can go in and we can view all of our customers. We can see a history of what actions have been taken with that customer, and we can add to it. So,
Adrian, you guys use the CRM?
No, we don't actually use any kind of CRM. I've tried different ones in the past, and I've never the sales guys that I've had, they're a little bit older, so they don't use it. I mean, it's too much time for them. I don't really have a younger generation that would be more apt to go online and punch everything in. What I do, I keep 4 salespeople at all times, 5 max. I go over them usually daily. Hey, how many people did you talk to? Did you make your calls? They like keeping track of everything just on paper and pen, and that's fine with me as long as they're doing it. I keep every one of them has a daily log sheet. They'll log how many people they talked to, how many of them they got to write up, how many of them got test drives, et cetera. And then I also keep track of those numbers, so that way at the end of the day I can match mine up with theirs and make sure that they're keeping track of who they talked to. Another thing I do, I also do a lot of TOs as far as if they're leaving, I want to know why before they're leaving the lot. Have just somebody else get in front of them. Hey, thanks for stopping by. Thank you for taking the time and coming to talk to us. I want to make sure that Adrian answered all of your questions. Make sure you didn't have anything else that he didn't speak about. And that's to kind of just give you another person to kind of help try to keep them there.
Sir.
We were paid off gross. We're also paid for hitting certain metrics, like if we have a certain amount of customers coming in and we're doing applications on them, pretty much rewarding us for getting traffic in. If we hit certain down payment amounts, if we there's several different factors.
Lane, did you mean gross profit or gross sales?
Gross profit.
Okay. Just wanting to clear.
It's a tiered system, so if we don't get anything if we don't sell 13 cars. If we don't sell 13 cars, it's no money. If you sell 40 cars, you're getting roughly 4%, Jim?
Ours is based on tier system. I mean, we have, once you sell 10 cars, we make 125. Once you sell from 11 to 15 cars, you make 150. From 15 to 20, you make 200, and from 20 and above, you make 300.
We play a flat rate, so it's for the first 7, it's $250 a car. Once they hit number 8, it's a $350 bonus, and it retros back. So then every car 1 through 8 is $350. It stays that way until they get to number 13. Once they hit number 13, we pay them $450 a car. Now it doesn't retro back, so it'll be from 13, 14 and up. It's going to be $450 a car. We do adjust that during income tax season, usually February and March, just because the volume is so much more. We'll cut that down. We'll make those bonuses a little bit higher. So the way we work, whatever my total cost is, double it up, round it up to the nearest 100, and then we do 24.95% is our interest rate. So like I said, on that 15.9, we're probably closer to the 42 to 48 month term. Most of the stuff that I keep at 36 months is going to be anything roughly around 99, 10.9 and below.
Back to the budget. Oh, thank you. Going back to the budget question, just on Facebook alone, what do you guys usually average on spend on marketing, or do you see spent marketing on Facebook? Do you have any numbers or ballpark?
So we don't actually. I don't spend any money. My sales guys are pretty good about. They'll go and post on every for sale page on Facebook Marketplace. Facebook and referrals are our 2 biggest ways to generate leads. Facebook, it doesn't cost anything for them. They'll go and put their own little template together. They'll put a little bit of info about them or their specials or whatever we got going on. They'll post it on their page. They'll go and post it on all the for sale pages that are in the the local area. Every once in a while, we'll run some kind of a drawing. I like to do a bunch of drawings, give away stuff, because what I'll do is I'll put on there, hey, share this photo, or share this ad and get into a drawing for a $100 Visa gift card or something of that nature. And what that does is, it's everybody shares it. It doesn't take but 2 seconds to share. Another thing we do is referrals. Like I said, we pay everybody referrals, whether they have a vehicle finance with us or not. Another thing that we like to do is pay all your franchise dealerships. If they know somebody that's selling cars, they get turned down, we offer them an extra $100. So we pay $200 referrals to dealers. We get a lot of dealer referrals just because, that person's going to go to that new car dealership, they're going to get turned down, and then they're going to have to go somewhere. So, your sales guys are the bigger franchise dealers are going to be, they're a lot more to opt to send them your way if they're getting paid $200 for every one that gets sold.
All right, we got last question in the back. Sorry.
Do any of you sell insurance with the monthly payment, or you bulk it in?
We have an option through CNAC, who is our finance company. It's a collateral protection. It's depending on how their payments are made, whether it's semi-monthly, bi-weekly, or monthly. There is a fee with that. It's not a liability coverage. It's a collateral protection. Bi-weekly, it's $42 bi-weekly. Monthly, I want to say it's $95.
We don't sell insurance.
Hey, Dean, hold that comment.
For now.
Because it's coming.
That's how we are. As of right now, we don't sell insurance. We let them go and get whoever they want. We're actually in the process of getting CPI, and it's going to be roughly about $100 a month. Insurance, especially we sell to a lot of people with no driver's license, just IDs, and their rates are just through the roof. And so they're going to struggle with that payment and that insurance payment every month. So if we put them on a CPI, it's going to be a lot more affordable, and I feel like it's going to be a little bit better as far as collection-wise goes too. We don't use one right now. We just met with someone that we're trying to get set up with for that.
Okay, everyone. What'd you think? So I can take it from your response that you'd like to see events like this in future shows. You'll have us bring employees and things like that? Here, get it right from the horse's mouth. Let's give these guys a big hand again. They deserve it. Hey, I'm going to give you my 2 cents on these guys, and it's real short. You know why they're on the panel? Because they're grinders. No more, no less, nothing fancy. They just do the push-ups. Thank you all. I think next section starts in 15 minutes, so travel safe.